Tune in for the activation required to make an impact through your purpose at work and in the world. From sales and marketing executive to now an international speaker, life and business coach, and media host, hosted by Melissa D. White, the activation specialist. That's me. We're getting real about personal and professional moments with the world's top leaders and influencers to help you activate your voice and amplify your story. Now, let's get activated. Hello, and welcome for another episode of the Activation Hour. I'm your girl, Melissa D, locked in for our new series, Becoming. Look, if you are new to Activation Nation, I want to welcome you as we transition from our last season, the season of unlearning. It's only natural that we step fully into who we are destined to become. If you've been following me for a while now, you've noticed a trend in what I stand on daily, which is the original intent. We're stripping away all of who we think we're supposed to be fully bold and the original thing we were created to be. So in this series, I'm welcoming some amazing guests. I'm just blown away and honored I get to sit and have a chat with some of my amazing guests for this series of Becoming. And the first up on this series is Shinjini Das, who, oh my gosh, I'm trying not to fangirl out because her message is one that I followed for quite some time now. Not only is she a millennial rock star, but boy, does she bring power to the stage and represent for brown girls all over the world. She represents in the tech space as a digital entrepreneur, and she's on fire about media like me. So I feel like we're kindred spirits about giving a voice to people, and we're going to unpack all of that. The biggest thing about this topic is that over the last year, the last 12 months, we've seen a surge of digital entrepreneurship. Some of you may be like, what does that even mean? Entrepreneurship was on the rise because we were locked in at home, left with our creativity and ideas for how to not only gain more income, but also how can we serve people better with what we have to offer. Digital technology has opened the way for us to do that. It's even grown exponentially, quadrupling the number of digital entrepreneurs. But what's next? How do you, one, become an entrepreneur in that space? Two, maintain it even now as the world is starting to open up? And Shinjini has the answers to that and much more. She advocates for go-getters around the world with 15 million plus go-getters on her social media platforms. And she has made media appearances globally to boot. So welcome my guest for today, Shinjini Das.
You're amazing.
Oh,
You're amazing. That music was amazing.
welcome. Oh my gosh. Look, I almost wish we could have recorded the pre-show so they can just hear there's this kinship, this bonding of girl go-getters and activators. And I just want to welcome you to my space, to the Activation Hour. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Melissa. I'm really excited to do this with you, and I'm just honored that you made time on Friday evening for
Of
me.
course, I should say the same. Look, audience, this is interactive. If you're catching us live on YouTube and Facebook, drop your comments and your questions for Shinjini live. I put her contact information below. Absolutely post away, tag her, let her know that you are appreciating the gems that she's going to drop because it's coming. And if you're catching the replay for this, don't be selfish. Share this with someone else and turn on that subscribe button because you don't want to miss any of what we're offering. So I want to set the stage. I want to go back a little bit and build up to now the digital entrepreneur that you are, Shinjini. I gotta admit, when I read you wrote your memoir, like your own personal manifesto at 26, I was blown away. I'm like, whoa, this woman, you have to really know who you are to tell a story at that age. Tell us the backstory to unapologetically Shinjini and you writing your memoir at 26.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right, Melissa. I think God prepares you for what you're gonna do. That's my only
Mm,
explanation. Because I think for me, like I grew up so shy and, an introvert really. And so
mm-hmm,
what does that mean, Melissa? You're spending hours by yourself, and
mm.
I mean hours and hours and hours. Not sad. I want to be clear. Like you are happy on your own. I'm not like I
Right, right.
wasn't crying by myself, but I generally prefer to be alone versus not. And
Mm,
so of course at the time I didn't realize that, but I think
mm-hmm.
what that does is that it makes you in a relationship with yourself pretty fast because that's
Yeah.
all you have. So
Wow.
yeah. So for me it was like 18 years of that. Like I moved
Mm-hmm.
from India to Malaysia to America at 9, and then cultural challenges to where it's like I didn't feel like I belonged here, and as a result, like who do you have when you don't belong somewhere? You have yourself. And so I think at every point in the journey, again, I don't want it to sound sad because it's really not, and I have great friends and everything, but there were a lot of times, Melissa, when I was like, you know what? I don't like these people. They are mean to me. They don't understand me. A lot of them, when I moved to the United States, Melissa, at 9 in 2001. So this is not like 1994.
Mm-hmm.
People didn't know where Malaysia was,
Mm,
and people like struggled. Like a lot of them thought I came from India, and I'm like, no, I moved from Malaysia. Like even just the concept of like a third culture kid, like
mm-hmm.
no one just got it. And so I think my refuge became myself pretty early on, and I think it stayed that way for many many years. And so obviously at the time I'm like, oh, I love dancing and whatever and movies and but I think now that I'm 29, I would say that looking back I'm like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of years spent in my own head, with
Mm-hmm.
my own self, with my own thoughts. And so what that means is you really are forced to get to know yourself. Whereas like I look at my friends, and a lot of them it's like party, 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 like people all the time, like I'm like suffocated with people. And so what happens then is you have no time with yourself. And so like
Mm,
today at 29, like they're struggling, and they're talking to me about like, oh my God, like same like you. It's like, how do you know yourself so well? And I'm like, all that time that you were partying and just like, with
right.
yourself, all of those hours I was with myself. Really. And guess what? There's other issues to that. Like I struggled very deeply as an adult to like socialize and just be a people person. I feel like everything I was saying was like making people mad. Or it's like when you're alone a lot, it's not like you don't have social graces, but you just say like whatever because you're like, yeah, it's fine. And then like somebody gets offended in real life. And so like I
Yeah.
had to deal with a lot of that as an adult, and even in my early 20s, just making a lot of people mad. But not meaning to, like not, I'm not a bad
Right.
person, but it's just that click was missing because I think when you
Mm-hmm.
do spend so much time alone, you miss that like social time. So
That's so
sometimes you're a little
good.
less developed, like social. But I've
I
had to work
totally
on that. No,
wouldn't
I've
get
had to
that
work
from
on that.
you.
No, but see, that's
Just
the
in
thing. I've had to work.
conversation. Yeah.
I've had to work on that. Likewise, my friends have had to work on getting to know themselves. I've had to work on people. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
So it's been
I
like behind.
100% relate to that. 100% relate. I
Yeah,
grew up an only child, right?
yeah,
And so I 100% relate. Like I've spent my entire life in my own head, right?
right.
And I told you, kindred spirits here. I totally
Yes,
get it. And so really that's even how I created my platform. It's like I was friends with these people on social media in my head. I said, I want real
mhm,
conversations. And
yes,
it became a push to get out of my head and build these relationships naturally and realize I'm not as alone as I think I may be. Although I'm comfortable, I'm totally okay. And I actually navigate better by myself, but I understand just a human need for other people. And thinking, if I built a bridge here between unapologetically Shinjini, and now here we are with you being the digital entrepreneur and mogul and media that you are. Did you form your platform out of giving a voice to other people? What inspired you to go from, hey, I'm okay with Shinjini, I'm good with me in my head, but I need other people and I want to hear from other people? What built that bridge over to your media company?
Yeah, no, I love that. And it's so interesting how we've been on similar journeys, Melissa, because I have a sibling who's almost 13 years younger than me. And so
Mm,
I have been an only child for that, it's 13 years, 12, 13 years is a long
right.
time. So yeah, like everything that you're saying, I'm just relating to. But look, I think the transition was, I don't think that the media is correct. I think it is racist. I think it is sexist. I think it is pretty much every ist in the world, really. I mean, whatever you can come up with, I probably agree. I mean, I think at some point I realized that this is a problem.
Mm,
It went from like, oh, this is sad, that's sad, that sucks, to where I'm like, people consuming this for generations, they're getting screwed up, they're getting
wow.
messed up, because
Wow.
when you consume racist news coverage, what zero women, okay, I mean,
Yes.
for me, that's how I grew up, or everybody's white. um
Mm-hmm.
I do think it messes you up because you don't even think that you can do anything. I mean, and the part of the world that I come from, India, super patriarchal. The women there, in any case, like have very few role models. On top of that, there's just very little celebration of who you are. And so I think at some point it struck me that this is really bad, like this is not good, and this is a problem. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that day, and I still remember that day, when I was, I would say, early 20s, because I had these feelings all throughout my teenage years. I mean, I have, all of us have that, oh my gosh, no representation, no women, no people of color, like anybody who's living has had that experience. So it's not like, wow, that was really revolutionary 2 years ago. No, but that has been consistent. But I think early 20s was when I realized that this is a real problem. Like, this is not just, oh wow, this sucks, wow, terrible, move on. Like, this is a problem. And so I think that's when my wheels started turning, of this is ridiculous, it is incorrect, it is
Right.
wrong, it is morally unacceptable. And then also
Mm-hmm.
somewhere I was like, I'm a positive person, I'm happy. Like, what if other people could just see what I say to myself, which is sort of along the spirit of, you go girl, you're amazing, you're gonna make it,
Right.
you're not, I don't talk negatively to myself. And so I literally, that's how it started, was like, maybe I can just tweet, maybe I can just, start tweeting, and people will see kind of how I talk to myself, because I think this is all very negative, very demeaning, very upsetting to even read. And that's how it
Right.
started. So I started on Twitter saying, you know what? And then, of course, I was like, look at the reach. I mean, like, one tweet, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 views.
Yeah.
That's you really controlling transmission, on a global level, right? In terms of changing thought patterns and giving positive influences. And so that for me was very exciting. And so it went from me having a Twitter, which really is what happened. And by the way, that's how you discovered me, because that was the
Yep.
time when I was on Millennial Talk
Yep.
with Chelsea. And it really went from me being like, okay, well, I could have a Twitter my whole life. And by the way, I was also on television then. But guess what, Melissa? I was a guest on shows talking about how to be a go-getter, how to start a business. Guess who all the anchors were? All white, okay,
Mm-hmm.
mostly men. And so I was like sitting on these shows going, no, this is cool, like, I'm super grateful to be on TV. I mean, that's a huge deal for my community. I mean, I don't know anyone on TV, like, that's huge, like, I'm
Right.
super grateful to state that. But I was sitting on these sets going, so, like, is this it, like John and Tommy are doing fantastic, and like the black women behind the scenes are not doing fantastic,
Mm.
on these shows, on these news programs. And so I think that's when I'm like, this is not going to work. Like, I can't just like sit here and be on shows and like everything is going to be okay. Even if I become an anchor, I feel like that's still not going to solve the problem, because the
Mm-hmm.
problem is like somebody has to not just control but rewire the entire media supply chain, right? Like, everything is a problem, right?
Yes.
There's no people of color creating the content. There's no people of color streaming the content, sharing the
Yeah.
content, speaking the content. And so like all of it was a problem. And I still remember like sitting on these TV sets. I'm like, you know what? I need to start a media company. That's what I
Hmm.
need to do. Literally, I was looking at like these like Fox logos and
Right.
ABC logo, and I'm like, no, this is great. I'm whatever, happy for all of you, but I need to start my own media company. Like, I need to be my own CNN. I need to have my own
Mm-hmm.
Fox. I need to have my own
Yes.
ABC News, and that's when it all started, Melissa. So I was on TV at 23, and I started this at 24. So that's exactly what happened. And I
That is so
narrated you
powerful.
through the exact like process. Yeah. So it wasn't overnight. Is really what I'm saying. Like, I did not wake up one day and say I need to start a media company. No. No, 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 no. No one in their
It
right
was
mind would do
that
it.
it never happens that way. People can get that
Yeah,
really mixed
yeah.
up and misconstrued by what they see on social media, which I have to say this to my audience. Yes, I discovered Shinjini on Twitter and Millennial Chat. Shout out to Chelsea Cross. But
I know.
um what what I can say about that, what we're talking about is ownership. What we're talking
Yeah.
about is owning our voices. What we're talking about is representation. I got like super excited and like almost shouted yes, like I was at a ball game when you were talking about like I'm sitting, I'm going on these shows, I'm sitting across anchors. None of them look like me or
Right.
people like me. So
Right.
then how are they now framing my story? Because people don't realize when you're in media and you go to the platforms that they're looking for certain sound bites. Like it,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
could
yeah,
be a
right, right,
whole
right.
it could be a whole
Exactly.
segment, right? We could give
Right.
some really good information, but
Yeah.
whether even if it's live, like the post editing, whatever, they're gonna take from what they want from
What
their
they want.
audience. And
Yes.
people don't realize that. And so it's so important, one, not only to have our own, so now we know the stories we want to hear. Even
Right.
you going back sharing when you were younger and you like those seeds were being planted young, like
Yeah.
you were looking for yourself in these stories. Like I don't
Yes.
see me in any of this media. I don't see
Right.
me at the news desk. I don't see me telling stories about my people and my community. And
Yeah.
so what does that message now to say to kids, to young
Mm.
people that like they are the new media. These
Right.
phones in our
Right.
hands, how they can
Yeah.
take to the street, they
Yeah.
told the stories of the
Mm-hmm.
protest over the last
Mm-hmm.
year
Mm-hmm.
from a phone.
Mm-hmm.
They told the
Totally.
message from going live right
Mm-hmm.
from boots on the ground. So
Mm-hmm.
now how tell us how you help serve in this space specifically. If I like myself, if someone like myself who says, hey, you know what, I don't see black and brown or marginalized communities represented in the media and I have a story, I don't know how to get it out, what tips would you give? How do you serve people
Mm-hmm.
in that space with Das Media Group?
Yeah. Totally, totally. No, and I love that question, and it's so aligned, Melissa, because we're all about trying to make you a go-getter, right? And
Right.
that could be with anything. That could be with starting a business, that could be with getting a promotion. Like today I had a consultation, like 1 hour go-getter consultation. And it was about getting a job offer as a digital marketing, expert. So variety of goals, mostly career related, but we do
Mm-hmm.
deal with a lot of different goals, and it's all about creating the action plan. And so I think
Mm.
really what we specialize in is that messaging, and how do you build messaging that really hits, that really monetizes, that really converts. And conversion could even mean like attracting the right people. Conversion is not always money. So I
Yes.
think for my audience of go-getters or even aspiring go-getters, it really is about, are you posting, are you taking that content, are you taking that video, are you taking the graphic or whatever it is, and are you sharing it, are you posting it, are you using the right hashtags, are you getting out there, are
Right.
you making the first move? If you're
Yes.
just going to record something and like keep it and expect someone else to share it, the question I have for you is how are they going to get that from you. I mean, so I really emphasize with my audience, make that first move. That's literally what I instructed my client today, Melissa. I said, you want to get a digital marketing job, you're on LinkedIn. Where are your posts about like Google ads and small businesses using, Facebook and Google? I mean, if you say you're an expert, show me you're an expert.
Yeah.
So I think with this of young people, especially teenagers, 20 somethings, you want to use media, you want to get that out there, film whatever it is you're filming and disseminate it, share it. And I think that's where, Melissa, there
Yes.
is a lot of no, there's a lot of like fear. That's what I'm sensing with my audience. They're like, no, I don't want
Mm.
to like share it, I don't want to put it out there. And then that's when I'm like, well, but what do I mean, if again, if you then that's how I talk with my audience. I'm like, if that is the result that you want, if that is your goal, your actions have to align. Okay, if your goal is
Mm.
to be out there, youth voices in the media, young women's voices in the media, but you are too scared to even post a video, like that goal and
Mm.
those actions do not align. So either you got to
Wow.
change your goal, you got to change your actions. And that's how I speak with my demographic. I'm not rude to them, but I'm also like real in the sense that if that is what you say you want, understand that, these actions are not getting you there. So either you're going to have to change your goal or you're going to have to change your actions, and that's how
Change
I
your
feel about
goal or
myself.
change your actions.
Yeah. So,
Wow. You
if they're too
I told you
scared,
I should have
yeah.
told you guys to bring a notebook to this interview.
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm just practical, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, and I was telling him, I'm like, if you want a digital marketing job, Melissa, and that's what he said he wanted, but you're not gonna tell me anything you know about digital marketing, how will I be able to trust you?
Mhm.
So these are like valid questions, because a recruiter or whoever is going to look at your resume after they're interested in you. But in order to build that interest, you need content. Okay. And that's what a go getter does. We make that first move, to where I'm on LinkedIn, I'm sharing about digital marketing, I'm
Right.
talking about how small businesses use Google, whatever. And then guess what? Maybe a recruiter reaches out to me, maybe, and that's how you grow. But I mean, most of my clientele, and that's why they follow me, audience, they're too scared to make the first move, Melissa, and that's why we are in this situation where I call them dreamers, not go
Mm.
getters. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, it's true.
Wow.
That's like the recurrent theme for my audience.
I
It's
love
fear.
that. I love that, Shinjini. Go from being
Yeah,
a dreamer to a go
yeah,
getter. Do
yeah,
you? So, in the intro, I was talking about what's happened in the last 12 months. I mean, I was one of those people. I put my podcast down for a while. I went from a radio show to the podcast, and then locked in quarantine. I pulled out all that equipment. I said, okay, you know what? And I was supposed to be traveling globally,
yeah.
speaking,
I
and all of
know
that was shut
all of
down.
us.
And I
Yeah.
got this phone in my hand. I pulled that stuff out. I said, you know what? And then I realized, if you guys are in my Activation Nation, you hear me say this a lot, that, use your micro moment to reach a macro audience. Here I was focused on being on a live stage as a speaker
Yeah.
when God gave me a phone and the
Yeah.
internet, and then I'm able to
Mm.
reach millions from the comforts of my home. And I love what you said. Like, you have to show that, position yourself
Yeah.
to be heard in the space where you're an expert. Do you think that some of it, is it fear, is it doubt, or is it really them not feeling qualified enough? Going back to your original point, Shinjini, about
Mhm.
I haven't seen myself enough in that
Mhm.
space.
Right.
So am I good enough for that
Right.
space? Because representation does build confidence if they're not
Totally.
seeing it. So what do you think?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm sure you have figured this out already, but a lot of my clients are also Black women in tech, and
Hmm.
Black girls in tech and aspiring college students. And this is a conversation I have on the daily, which is it's a chicken and egg, right? Because if I tell them to wait to see a Black woman in tech rising and
Mm,
making money and making moves, is that the right solution? Or is the solution,
right.
hello, Sabrina, you are that Black woman? Right? Like I think
Come
so, and
on.
I think I have taken the second step where I'm telling her, like, listen, you are her. So let's go, let's keep going. because it's a catch 22, and trust me, it's something that I've struggled very deeply with. When I was, 21, 22, literally, I'm like, I want to see an Indian woman do this, and I want to see her dance, and I want, like when you're like a little girl, you have all these things, and that was like me, and like I want to see her act, I want to see her be an
Right.
engineer, I want to see her like beautiful, and I'm sitting here going, I'm going to be waiting forever. Like if I like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I don't see anybody like that. And then my personal pet peeve, it's like a lot of them, it's like you have to like marry someone to be successful. So a lot of them are known by the men in their lives. And so I was just like, you know what? This is ridiculous. I want to build a brand where literally it is my name, it is me, it is, they know that it's not about a man, it's not about who I'm married to. It's not, and so
Yes.
but how long do I have to wait for that to happen? And the answer, honestly, Melissa, was forever. And that's when I say, you know
Yeah.
what? Honestly, it might just be easier for me to do it myself. And that's kind of why I'm where I am. And so that is the same message I give to my audience, that it's not about you feeling like you're not good enough. Honestly, it is fear.
It's
Because
fear.
once you start, like you can learn the skills. I mean, like you said, now with the internet, honestly, if you have the internet, you're in America. Come on, there is no excuse. Okay,
There's no
I
reason to not win. You're right.
you know what I mean? Like, because my thing is like, okay, so you're gonna start and you're gonna say, oh, I don't know this. I mean, can't you learn? You can Google it. You can. I mean, it's not
YouTube
impossible.
University.
Exactly. And so I think for me, what I'm learning with my demographic, it's fear. It's fear of the unknown, more than anything, which is like sad, and that's why I feel like I'm really making an impact, Melissa, with these people, whether that's in consultations or just, media platform. A lot of people follow me, right? Of just
Hmm.
saying like, be a go-getter, make the first move, go
Make
to
the first move.
college, get that degree. Okay,
Hmm.
go back and get that degree. And it's like when we have consultations and she's like, no, I have a kid, I have a this, and I'm like, well, the 3 hours here that you're not doing anything, the 2 hours here, that's 12 hours a week. Okay,
Come
if you
on.
do that for a year, that's a degree. So sometimes it really is about like like filling the gap. And do it.
Shinjini, I this is so
You know.
good. Listen, guys, and I see many new listeners and viewers coming in. We have some Q&A for you. You up for it?
Okay. Yes, I
You
am.
up for some live Q&A?
Yes.
All right. So we
Yes.
have our first question. I love this part. This is why I love doing the show live, because there's so much value. I mean, I got guys, you wouldn't get this anywhere else. If you're catching the replay, drop your questions, and Shinjini will definitely engage with our audience. So first up, Rhonda. Rhonda says, I'm a small business and currently too busy even to start marketing, except for Facebook and IG. Hoping to expand and hire staff soon, and will then have time to really market. Where should I start? That's a huge one. That's a big one when you're a digital entrepreneur,
Big
is
one.
when and how to hire. Okay, she
Yeah.
says, I have a home-based bakery and I have lots of customers from word of mouth. So here's someone she's a solopreneur trying to shift as a
Yes.
business owner to working
Yes.
in the business and not on
Right.
it all the time. Where should she start, Shinjini?
Yes. Melissa, Instagram, Rhonda, Instagram.
In IG.
Instagram is your holy grail. Yeah, it's your holy grail for cupcakes, bakery, anything visual. I'm a big fan, Rhonda, too, who you asked the question. First of all, you're a go-getter, you know that. I think that you don't have to be on every platform all the time. And here's why. Okay, you build one platform up really great, it's amazing, it's solid, like, crazy views, crazy, just amazing. Okay. And then guess what? A lot of them have Twitter. Okay. Guess what? A lot of them are on LinkedIn. A lot of them are on Facebook, right? So you don't have to, like, I think that's the number one mistake I see too, Wanda, who asked the question. It's like, you don't have to build six platforms at once. How do I know? I tried doing that. Okay. It wasn't
There you
that
go.
great. It wasn't that successful. Right. And so only when I pivoted and just double, tripled, quadrupled down on one platform was when I really started seeing success. So for Rhonda, Instagram, done. Okay. I mean, if you live in Utah, you live in, LA, wherever you live, start there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A great strategy is to follow target accounts in that area. Right. Because I think, like,
Mm,
for Rhonda, I'm thinking about her. It's like, she has a home-based bakery, most likely her customers are all local, right? So if she's
Hmm.
in, LA, someone in New York is probably not going to be helpful, really, for her, right? And
Hmm.
so then the question becomes, can she target other LA-based sort of entrepreneurs, businesses, etc., and follow those accounts, right? And then guess what? She's going to post amazing pictures of chocolate cupcakes, right? And they're going to be like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then they're going to follow her back. And that's how she grows a local clientele and or potential clientele. So,
Awesome.
yeah,
Rhonda, you got your answer. She says, hey, I
yeah.
do ship. She wanted to put that out there. She'll ship.
Okay, perfect. There you go. Well, then that's perfect, right? Then geography is not even a question, right? I mean,
Not
she
an
goes
issue.
national. You're in New York, you're in Utah, you're in Georgia. You're perfect.
Oh,
But
I
I
love
I
it.
really want to emphasize that one platform approach versus six, seven at once. And I also want to emphasize really targeting your followers, right? So not just sitting there going, oh, whoever wants to follow me, I'm fine with it, but really going again, being a go-getter, making that first move, going and getting those people versus waiting for whoever wants to follow you. Because with the whoever wants to follow you, there's always a danger of like, this person doesn't like sweet goods. This person doesn't like cakes. This person doesn't like cupcakes. And that's when you're running into some sticky situations of like, okay, they're all followers, but like none of them eat this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to, like, I'm trying to help Rhonda build a business online, which is why we call it digital entrepreneurship versus digital hobby, right?
The, come on.
You know what I mean?
No digital hobbies. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah. Because I think that's the one thing I've run into, and I had to learn the hard way in the beginning, is a lot of people need help and motivation, but not everyone wants to do anything about that. And I think that was a
Mm,
huge wake up call for me. That there is a difference between an aspiring go-getter and a go-getter, first of all. Second of all, I cannot make you a go-getter. Like, you are coming to me because you're already
yep.
there and you need some help to get to the next level. But like, if you don't eat cupcakes, I can't change your mind. Right. And so with Rhonda, it's going to be targeting people who love like what she does and who, by
Mm-hmm.
the way, are ready to pay. So,
Good
yeah.
stuff. So there you go, Rhonda. She answered the second part of your question. You have
Yeah.
time for one more before we take a quick
Yes,
commercial break?
of course. This is so
Hey, they're
cool.
in here. They showed up for you, Shinjini. I love
I
it.
know.
I love it. I
No,
love
I'm
it.
telling
So
you,
Bob
women.
Mackey says, "Do titles matter in a professional career?" You shared earlier. I guess you had a client come to you about a career in the digital space, and it's
Yeah.
like, and I put your quote, and you quoted, "If you're going to be an expert, show you're an expert," right?
Right.
And sometimes I think traditionally we looked at titles as a the first introduction. Hey, this is what I'm an expert of, but
Mhm.
does that still really matter? What do you say to Bob?
Bob, I think that knowledge is what matters more than like vice president and whatever and CEO and whatever. So I think it's like, if you know your stuff, and like this person, for example, no title. Okay. He just does digital marketing right now. He creates content, is a fan of it, loves it. And I told him, I said, just share that, share how businesses can market using Facebook and Google ads and this and that. And
Right.
people will follow you because you're valuable. So I think, Bob, the answer is no, honestly, right now. I think right now what matters more is your substance and your content uh, and your value, right? So like, if this person who I instructed today in our consultation actually does this and follows through on LinkedIn and posts a lot of really just awesome like business tidbits for small businesses, I don't think anyone will care what his title is,
Mm-hmm.
because they're just going to say, oh my gosh, this was so helpful. Thank you. So I think, Bob, the answer is no. I think what Melissa and I are advocating for is become an expert. And an expert could literally be small business marketing expert. That is
Mm-hmm.
no title. Yeah,
At all.
but yeah, that's not a title. But you're valuable to small businesses. So I think, Bob, the answer is no. The answer is no.
Mm, that's good. My takeaway from that: what matters is substance,
Yeah.
content, and value.
Yeah.
If you can prove
Honestly.
you like it, and you know what, I,
Mhm.
I could package all of that into one word,
Yeah.
Shinjini. Well,
Hmm.
maybe three words. Be
Hmm.
the answer. When you talk
Yes.
about
I love
substance,
that. Yes.
You talk about content. Are you creating content that answers the questions that keep someone up at night?
Correct. Correct.
Are
Exactly.
you creating value that maybe you were given an instruction during a post? Like for me,
Yeah.
right? I the number one question I get, which is so crazy to me, Shinjini, I get like out of all the things I do, coaches speaking, whatever, they want to know what microphone I'm using and what's in my studio. So I started thinking, I was like,
Mm,
okay, is it really the microphone and the equipment they want to know, or do they want to know how I like turn on that button and share my voice every day? That's what they really want to
right.
know. The equipment's just
Right.
a muse, right? So
Totally.
then now the content is structured like for Bob's an inventor, he has an amazing product. So Bob, it's really education on like forget the title. I mean, you wear many hats. It's
Mhm.
um I, solve problems by whatever your product does.
Yeah.
That's your caption. And
Exactly.
then the picture is the product or a video, a demonstration of how it solves someone's problem. Same with
Yes.
Rhonda. Problem is, I got a sweet tooth. It's the middle of the night. I need cupcakes. And while I'm scrolling
Yeah.
online, I'm ordering Rhonda's cupcakes.
Exactly. 100%. 100%. No, I'm
you know?
I'm I'm fully with you. And I love too that you also see content the same way I do. That it's not just like a nice to have, oh wow, this is amazing. Like
hmm
content is actually a product. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. Well, and
Content
yeah,
is
it's
a
interesting because I've always like looked at it that way, but I think in the
wow.
beginning when I kept telling people I have a media company, they were all like, "Wait, what do you sell?" I'm like, "No, that's the product. The product is content." I think to this day, a lot of people are still really confused, and that's when I realized that they probably don't get it. Like content is the product, right? So
Mm,
if my client shares content about how small businesses can market using Google Ads, that is the cupcake, which is sort of a wild thought. I think even to this day, a lot of my friends are confused. But no, no, but like you look at New York Times, Melissa, what is their product? Their product is content. They don't
right.
have anything else. Like what do we know the New York Times for? I'm sure they have live events. I'm sure they have, you know, an app or even in an app, what are they like sharing? They're sharing content, right? Like that their
Yeah.
journalists write. So, I mean, it's just funny. Like I think they don't get it. Like I think they don't get it because they don't understand how it's monetized maybe. Because I think when you're like
Mm-hmm.
I sell water bottles, you're like, okay, cupcakes, water bottles. But
Got
they're
it.
like, how do you sell content? But I'm like, no, that is
Mm,
what you sell though. That's you sell content. So it's just
that's
it's
so
it's
good.
interesting, yeah. Like they just don't get it. Yeah. I
Oh,
think even
guys.
younger people don't get it. Like even younger than me. So like teenagers, yeah.
You know what? Can I wrap that statement up like with a really big bow real quick
Yes,
before we take a
yes,
break? So,
please.
I hear a lot on we follow like some amazing people, in the internet space of just who are really dope digital marketers, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I can't remember which one said it, that's why I can't quote it, but they said I hear people say be a producer, not a consumer. So
Right.
when you say content is the product, not a
Yeah.
product, it's the product,
Mhm.
that when people are scrolling, if you're scrolling more than you're creating, that means
Mhm.
you're consuming, you're taking in
Correct.
the content that someone else is producing. That means they're
Correct.
the producer, you're the
Yes.
consumer.
Correct.
So
Correct.
for me, being a digital media content creator and supporting other creators is to flip your thinking, is how do you now use your voice
Mhm.
to, like you said, you couldn't have said it better. You are now the content. You be the content and
Right.
you produce.
Mhm.
You shift from
Exactly.
being a consumer to a producer. That's how people
That's
win.
that's how people
That's
win.
how the wealthy, that's how those who are seen, that's how those
Yeah.
who get platforms get in that
Yeah.
space. They produce.
They produce, absolutely. Well, and I think entrepreneurship is that you're a producer, right? Whether you sell
Mm,
cupcakes or water bottles or anything,
right.
which is amazing and awesome. And that is the path to wealth creation. You have to own the patent, you have to own the,
Bingo.
product, you have to own your Rhonda's, cupcake recipes,
You're
right? Like,
right.
so, and that's how you win. No, 190%. And I think where I am and like genuinely what I'm just like super passionate about, and every time I like do this, I'm like, oh my God, this is what drives me, is architecting that personal transformation. Melissa, from
Uh,
a consumer to a producer, because you're too scared. You don't think that you're good enough. You have major imposter syndrome. I mean, I deal with all of the above and more with my audience, and I'm sitting here going, okay, but let's go. Okay, let's go. Let's make the first move. And honestly, like that's how I see my personal role as a motivational speaker, online and everything. But also, that's what I see my media company doing as we branch off into our own media platform, app, whatever, television channel, all the things that we want to do is we are your growth partners. We're going to share
mm,
stories of people like Melissa being go getters, making that first move. And you know what? Somebody's going to relate to you more than they relate to me. Okay. And they're going to see
mm-hmm,
you and they're going to be like, oh my God, Melissa can do it. I can do it. And she's going to like do something that she's never done before. And I
mm-hmm.
want to be there for that. Genuinely. I want to be there for the first job. I want to be there for the like homeless to Harvard story. I want to be there
Yes.
for every one of those jumps. And
Yeah.
that is like to this day why I'm here, why I'm driven to do any of this, which is why like today the guy was like, I just want my first job offer in digital marketing. And I was like,
Mm,
I think you're going to get it, because I told him about, passion and purpose and connecting it and
right.
communicating it and ultimately making that first move on LinkedIn, sharing content, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of stuff that he felt like he wasn't really doing, So again,
Mm-hmm.
dreaming, more dreaming than go getting. And now I really feel confident that he's going to get an offer. And like, I literally want to be there for that. And so if you ask me like why I even care, like that's why I care,
I
because they're,
love
they're
it.
having trouble they're having trouble going from consumer to producer on their own, Melissa. That's the problem.
And that's
That's
why
the
they have
like
you.
that's the problem. And people are like, what problem do you solve? Honestly, that's the problem. People are
Mm,
struggling to go from dreamer to go-getter on their own. That's the problem.
mm,
Unsupportive family, whatever, abusive situations, etc. I mean, I deal with everything with my
yeah.
demographic. It's like you name it and I have it. So um, that's the problem that I think we are uniquely solving. So,
I love it. So, guys, show Shinjini some love. Don't leave right now. But after this show, or if you're listening to the replay, make sure you subscribe. Go follow her. I've just dropped the information here. Also, in the show notes, you can catch all of my quotables, my activation moments personally from hearing Shinjini share about digital entrepreneurship. Check her out as Speaker Shinjini on IG and also follow her on Twitter. We're going to take a
yeah.
quick break. We'll be right back. This episode is sponsored by the Activation Nation, my private group coaching. Make sure you check us out on Facebook at Activation Nation 1000. Guys, don't go anywhere. Stay tuned for more activation as I come back and chat with the one and only Shinjini Das. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Activation Coaching International, where we're on a mission to activate 1,000 coaches, speakers, and business owners to monetize, repurpose, and package your message, allowing you to attract your ideal clients and build platforms using your voice that generate multiple streams of income. We've helped countless coaches achieve optimal results to get the training and support they need for a successful coaching practice and speaking business. Become a certified life and business coach to enhance your skills and serve at mass. Learn how to build a platform that attracts your ideal clients through Activation Coaching International. Apply today. All right, guys, we're back for the last half of the activation hour with the go-getter herself, Shinjini Das. Oh my gosh. Listen, Guys, my notebook is full. This happens every week. I take copious notes. I did all the heavy lifting for you. Just make sure you check out the show notes and put this
Mm,
into work. Don't just be a dreamer consuming all this
mm,
information. Come back, tell me, tell Shinjini how this episode has helped you go get it.
mm. Thank
So
you.
tell us more, Shinjini, about what's new for you. What are you working on right now? How are you serving in your space? I want to know more.
You're amazing, Melissa. And I just have to say, like, everything that you're just sharing now with your, podcast and coaching group, and just how amazingly produced everything was. Like, it's such an inspiration to me. And I actually mentioned this to you before the show, but coming into the media, like, there's very few Indian women here. Okay, there's no other way for me to say it. So the only women of color that I could look up to as inspiration have been Black women,
Wow.
and I'm saying that truly. So I mean, the fact that like you have your own show and it's so cool and produced and all, like, that is such an inspiration to me, because obviously like that's all what I want to do and where I'm going. And it's I think it's hard to not see role models in that way, or
Yeah.
even or even maybe they are of your ethnicity, but maybe you still don't quite relate, right? Just because
Right.
they are your color doesn't mean that it's a one-on-one fit. So I just want to say that I'm just
That
amazed and
means so
inspired.
much. Ah, it's
Yeah,
such
I
a
think
labor of
all of you
love.
deserve. Yeah, no, I think all of you deserve just huge audiences, more money. I feel like there's so much more that still like can be done with each of your platforms. And I'm genuinely saying this. I want to be one of your partners in that journey, because I want to go like so big, and I want to be global and everything. And when and if I am there, I want all of you there with me,
Oh
because
my
I
gosh.
really like don't want to just win for myself. I want you to have more money, more coaching, more just reach. Okay.
Yes.
And because I think sometimes I feel like that's one thing that I noticed, that I don't know, women who make it, I'm just like, did you bring everybody up here or not? And sometimes the answer is
Wow.
like no. So I want to go big, and somewhere I feel like me being Indian, and like I have Asia in my palm. Latin America came first because I was a speaker, rather am a speaker with the U.S. Department of State, and like
Hmm.
all of Latin America, like the same thing, instructing them on digital entrepreneurship and all that. So
Hmm.
I have this unique appeal, which is like super global. So I feel like I can really just take things to a new level. And when I am there, I want all of you there with me, and I mean that, because you have all been trailblazers in the space. And if I'm even here, it is because of you, truly, all of you. And
Wow.
mostly Black women. I don't think I have yet, probably even, I don't know, maybe one Indian woman podcast. Like it's that rare,
Wow.
So
Well,
I
you
just
said it
I
earlier, Shinjini, that somebody has to go first,
somebody
right? You
has
said
to
the
go
chicken or the
first.
egg. So
Yes,
it's you.
yes. I know, I clearly, which is like crazy, because I'm like, I'm really young. Like, I don't understand how like I have to go first. Like it's absurd. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. And not even that, it's not even going first, but it's about being able to scale. Because I think I also see
Ah.
that as a huge challenge, Melissa, with my demographic, where it's like they're being go-getters, but like they're still struggling to like break, $30,000 in revenue or $40,000 in revenue. And by the way, I was there. Okay, women-owned businesses are struggling to break six figures, and so like I see the struggle every day with my demographic, right? And it's not that they're not trying. It's not that they're not being go-getters. It's just there are some real barriers, in the way. And I don't know. I sometimes I feel like that all like motivates me to just make it, all the way. And I'm like, I want all of you there. Let's go. Like someone has to just, make it and bring everybody up with them. And I feel like currently the women who've made it, I'm not entirely sure if they've brought everyone else up with them. That's how I feel.
Mm.
That's how I feel. The older women,
Yeah. Yeah.
because
That's
they're
so
like
real.
competitive, Yeah. So
I'm so
I
glad you
just
said that. I thought I was the only one thinking what you said. I'm a little older than you, not much.
no,
I call
you're
myself a
you're
mature
like
millennial.
you're like 40 something.
Yeah, I'm a mature millennial. I'm that first year top of the year millennial, right?
Yeah, I know you. Yeah, you're
And
totally like. 40 something.
Yeah, 39 going into 40. And so
Oh
for
my
me,
God.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like, so, but like you, I can relate to like, why do I have to be the first? Like, after
It's
all these
crazy.
generations that came before me, why am I the first? This makes no sense.
It's
Like, why
like
am I
it's
the
such
first of
a
anything?
yeah. Like yeah. Honestly, if you think about it, and it's like crazy.
Yeah.
Um,
But
it's crazy.
what about this though? What if it was just destined? We talk about purpose at working in the world here, the activation hour.
Right.
What if it was just really purposed for there
Yeah.
to be a Shinjini Das that
Yeah.
could usher in, like,
Yeah.
think about,
More.
we talked about this in the pre show, right?
Yeah.
That,
Yeah.
and even you said it here about creating that space for young people, and you were once that girl that wanted to see yourself.
Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe, you had that experience so
Right.
that you had that fire under you to blaze the trail for
Yeah.
other go-getters. It was just
Right.
purposed. It was just
Totally.
predestined
I
for you
think
to do
so.
that.
No, I agree. I agree. And yeah, like now that I like am able to put my life together, because when you're living as a teenager, whatever, like you're not like in 10 years, like you're just trying to get through 13. So I think for
Yeah.
me, like now that I'm able to look back, 190%. I mean, and I don't know if you know this, but I have a competitive public speaking background. So all throughout high school, I was competing on Saturdays, Sundays, and this is like hours, like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And so, people are like, entrepreneurship, long hours. I'm like, listen, I've been doing this my whole life. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not
Georgia Tech
new to this.
Industrial Engineering. Yeah. Georgia Tech Industrial Engineering. It's like all men, white men. So if you think about it, literally, I've been in this game my whole life. And by the way, won at every level,
Yeah.
competitive public speaking, won all the awards. One of the only girls, Indian girls. So I'm used to that. And I think somewhere when you are the first, I think God enables you to like cut through, because I,
Mm.
I also know a lot of like friends of color who like were not able to win, who did not win the public speaking competitions, who did not
Mm-hmm.
get the President's Scholarship at Georgia Tech. So I think somewhere, and I probably can't take credit for it because it's destiny. I
Mm-hmm.
think God has predisposed me in a way to be relatable to a lot of people and frankly cut through the mainstream, because all of
Wow.
these were like very white institutions. At the time, I mean, now everything is like, a little bit better, but at the time, like public speaking, all the judges, white men and women, and like could barely pronounce my name, and guess what? I won all of them. So I and,
Wow.
and that's something that I can't really take credit for because I really do think it's like a destiny thing, so I agree. And even as I look at media now, Melissa, to whether that's Hollywood or this, like you have to, um, whether you like it or not, white decision makers all have to like you for
That
you
is
to
true.
get through the door. So I think
Yeah.
somewhere I have been predisposed to be, appetizing to a wide variety of people. But I'm very, very committed that when I'm there, and even now, I mean, I'm constantly, constantly pulling up black and brown women with me, wherever I
Mm-hmm.
go, because I just,
You
I
do.
feel, I feel a little uncomfortable at this age and stage of my life because at 13, I'm like the only brown girl. I'm like, listen, what are you going to do? This is what it is. But today, I do feel a little uncomfortable because I know that there are other brown and black girls who are super smart, who understand
Mm-hmm.
technology, who probably didn't know anyone at this conference, which is why they're
Mm-hmm.
not speaking, and so I
Been
think
there.
when I think that's a real concern, especially in the tech world, Melissa, where it's like these tech summits and all. And like I've been, it was called like Dublin Tech Summit. I was one of the youngest, forget women, people on the main stage, which
Mm-hmm.
these are the distinctions that I'm very like aware of now that, okay, you have a brown and black speaker. Are they like in a room where there's nobody there? Because that's not really success. Yeah. So I'm very like, because before I used to be like, yeah, you're speaking there. Amazing. And then I like dug deep and I'm like, oh my God, you're in a like side room.
That has happened to me.
I
You
know.
know what? I have to tell you this.
So
Oh
sad.
my gosh. I had no, I'm so glad you brought this up,
Mhm.
that it's not only our responsibility to advocate for others to get in the door,
Yeah.
but that's where the inclusion part comes in, right? Like,
Yeah.
no, there has to be equity and representation in the platform. Don't
Yeah.
put me in the back. What's the movie?
Yeah.
Don't put baby in the corner. Don't put
Yeah.
Shinjini. Don't put Melissa or
Yes.
anyone who looks like us in
Yes.
a
Yes.
corner, in the
Yes.
corner room back, like during where you're competing with maybe a main stage person at the
Yeah.
end of
And
the
you're never gonna
session.
win. You're not
I've
gonna
been
win.
there, but you know what
Yes.
happened?
Yes.
And I could shout out so many people. I'm thinking of one particular friend. Shout out to Nicole Samieri. But like I've had people, she was a good friend, a white female in my space,
Mm.
who wrote to the conference organizers and
Yeah.
said, I have a problem with what just happened. I have a problem with her session being back there. So when
Yeah.
you talk about advocating, you and
Absolutely.
I applaud you, and I totally see you, like I said, as my media sister in this space too. You
Absolutely.
said, look, I'm bringing other people with me.
Yeah.
The more powerful thing is, one thing when we advocate for each other,
Mm.
but when white women say, you know
Yeah.
what, this isn't right, I know it's not
Totally.
right, and I'm not just
Totally.
going to sit on my laurels, I'm going to get up and say it. Like she wrote a whole that
Yes.
that to me, that's
Yes.
power, that's
Yes.
advocacy, that's
Yes.
equity in media and in speaking and in
Yes.
those spaces. And until we start holding organizations and media
Correct.
platforms
Correct.
accountable,
Yes.
and showing them, hey, no, you put them in the same spot. You thought they were qualified enough to come to the conference, give
Yes.
them equitable opportunity when they show
Totally.
up.
Totally.
That's
100%.
good.
100%. And also I think you and I are at the stage because of the internet now, Melissa, where you don't have to do that. Okay. If you're gonna be in the back, if you're gonna be in the corner, if I were you, I would say, you know what? I don't need this. Because I think you like have multiple streams of income available to you to build.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not every income stream is great. Hell, none of ours is.
Hey,
But you at least for me, like I have options, okay? And so like I'm not about to accept that, you know. Whereas I
thank
think if you and I, if this was 12 years ago, I could definitely see how like okay, we might be sort of you know not desperate, but kind of like, oh well, this is how it is. But in 2021, this is I don't have to stand for that, you know. And
you.
frankly,
Right,
neither do you, is what I'm saying, right? So if
right.
you do get this thing of like you're in the bag, be like, you know what, this is not going to work for me, you know. So
Yeah,
I think that like even you have options today because of digital media, and that's definitely how I feel, where you know I'll be like, I have more followers than like all of them, so like I don't understand why, like I you know. And because I think for me, one thing, Melissa, which you may forget, I had to deal with massive I was very young, okay. My whole
yes.
like
Ageism is a
rise has
thing.
been, but even the other way, like
Yeah, that's
not,
what I'm saying. Reverse ageism in all spaces. They're like, so how, like you're how old? So like,
yeah,
how did you get
exactly.
here?
Yeah, exactly. And also like if you add for me like the color and the this and the that, and you know obviously I'm not
Mm,
black, but there's no like Indian people in these spaces in that
right.
way. Now, if you talk about the NASA engineer, yes, they're Indian, but usually they're not on stage like speaking, you know. So
Hmm.
it's been difficult, you know. I think now I feel a lot more mature, and you know 29, 30, like you're you know no one's going to be like, oh, you're so young, you know, you're whatever, it's fine. But
It
like
still
for me,
happens.
I started at 24, you know, and I
Yeah.
was on TV at 23, and speaking to college campuses at 25, where literally the kids were 3 years younger than me.
Right.
Okay, being like, what, you know? So like dealing with all that, and by the way, you know, only you know a lot of keynotes at these college campuses where you know they were nice enough to tell me, they're like, yeah, you're the first like person of color, which is amazing, you know, and I'm
Yes.
so proud of it. But also, I'm like, what on earth? So it's just too many new things at once for people,
Hmm.
and I just, you know, I don't know. I feel like I've had to deal with that. But then, you know, I look at someone like Kamala Harris, and you know, she's
Yeah.
50 plus, and like she was the first, and then I'm like, okay,
Hmm.
whatever. I mean, it is what it is, I guess. But um, but look, you don't have to deal with that anymore. You really don't. Because my concern with being like, oh my God, everybody needs to speak up for you is I just know that everybody will not speak up for you just because that's how they are. Not because they hate
Mm,
you or you know you are this or that. It's just it's just hard. It's hard to be moral. It's hard to do the right thing. So if I were you, I would have a hard time counting on other people like speaking up for me because I'm like, I don't know if this is gonna happen. I don't know if this is gonna happen, and I'm talking about myself. So I think
that's
then it's
good.
like, yeah, then it's like you're just like, I don't have to do this. So,
Is that
but
why
which is
it's
why,
important to
no, I didn't.
build your own spaces, Shinjini, so that we're
Oh,
not
that's
you, yeah, you talked about when we go to spaces and tolerate it and the
yeah,
power of saying no and walking away.
right. Because
So
you
are
have your own
you
space.
yeah.
Because you have your own space. And that's exactly how I feel. Because I'm like, listen, if, Fox News is going to act rude, I'm like, I don't need this. Okay. I don't need to be here. And so I think that's what I would advise any woman of color. But, you also have a very strong point that, especially like Black women like us have to stand up for you. And that's something that I feel very strongly about. Indian women, Iranian women, Asian women,
Yeah.
you know,
Yes.
Chinese, Japanese,
Yes.
anything else, white obviously, but again, we
Mhm.
know that there's like a history there, and we can't count on all of them to stand up. It is what it is, okay? But but someone like me, like I don't know why I wouldn't stand up for you, which is why I get very like bugged when I see like Indian women like not doing that, because I'm like, what? Like we again,
Mm,
we're not the same, but I have an inkling of what you've
right.
been through, whereas someone else would have no idea.
Mhm.
So that for me is like crazy, which is why like literally on Monday, which this is so perfect. I'm in a Rotary Club, Melissa,
Okay.
super white. It is what it is. And I told them, I said, I want to bring people of color speakers. Like, that's what I want to do. And they were like, cool,
Mhm.
awesome. I told them, I said, I want them to be young. Okay. We need young people. Everything needs young people.
Uh-huh.
That's how we move.
I agree.
Monday, I invited a guy. First of all, he's amazing. This is not about color only, but happens to be half black. Literally, I don't think we've ever had a black speaker. So, like, that's what it takes. Someone like me saying, I have to get someone else here. And by the way, he's going to be black.
Mhm.
And that's what we're doing, and I'm just so excited. I know he's going to do an amazing job because he's amazing, and he's 27. And I
I
just
love it.
literally, I'm like thinking about Monday, and I'm getting chills because I'm like, this is what we need. This is what we need. We
Mm.
need someone like Shinjini and Kamala and Shreya, all these Indian girls, to be like, we need to see black representation. We
I
need to
love
like,
it.
this is crazy. Like, this is what has happened has is nuts. And I'm just like, I'm like, I'm so proud of myself, but I'm just amazed that like this is happening, and like now he's on the bulletin, and like I see his name,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my god, we did it. Like,
I know. That's an
because
amazing feeling.
yeah, even just like seeing your name, it's like an accomplishment, and so anyway, all I'm saying is, yes, white women 100%, but again, there's history there. And I feel like someone like me and Sri Lankan women and Asian women, we should support you without question. And anybody who doesn't, I will take care of them. because well,
She
because
will
I just
take to
I
Twitter
just
and take care of it.
I
I'm
just
just
I don't
saying.
understand why you wouldn't do that, because
Yeah.
someone like us has a closer relationship to oppression than not. So I just, it's like
Agreed.
crazy to me how like some people, even like non-black, they're like, oh, this is not for me. Like, no, this is for you.
Mm.
So, yeah.
This is good.
No, it's really, now that like you were talking about the protests and everything, and now that I have that lens, Melissa, I
Mhm.
mean, I look back at my speaking engagements, how many people have been black? It's shameful.
Well,
College campuses,
yeah.
tech summits, I mean, all of it. It's shameful. So,
I pray that we get better. It takes go getters and women with courage like you
oh my God.
to, as you said, like you held the door open for this gentleman speaking for the Rotary Club, and I'm familiar. Like, we have to change the landscape and the optics of these spaces, and like I said, not just to check it off a box. So
Yeah.
I applaud you
Yeah.
for being so intentional on your
Yeah.
mission to do that, and through your company, but through your stewardship. You are a good steward of your platform,
I
and I
am.
that's
No,
why I'm such a fan, girl.
yeah, no, I'm, because, I'm like, again, like I'm mentioning to you, like, you must understand, I'm also surprised by how easily I make it into these spaces. You know what I mean? Like, I'm also
Yeah.
not like, wow, I'm amazing. Like, sometimes I'm like, oh my God, like Rotary let me in, and this let me,
Like,
because there's
Yeah.
it is a diversity is a problem, Melissa, in these
Hmm.
spaces. Like there's no other way for me to say. Again, if you go to the Rotary Club in India, well, shit, everyone's Indian, but
Because it's in India.
yeah, it's in India. So I just want to be clear that America, I'm talking about America. So uh, it's a problem. It is a problem. Again, there's a fine line between, oh, that's sad, to this is a problem. And I have realized that the spaces that God has granted me the ability to enter, frankly, quite easily. Again, there have been some struggles, but generally, knock on wood,
Mhm. Like you said,
quite
as a
easily.
trailblazer,
Yeah,
God cuts through.
I was
That
gonna
was
say,
transformational.
I think because sometimes I'm like, there is a reason for this because
There, absolutely, it's
you
called
know,
great. We can call it different things depending on your belief. For me, it means the favor, the grace, the anointing. Like we
yeah,
can walk
yeah,
in certain things because we understand if you're called to it. When you're
yes,
called to something, I think there is a measure of opening
yes,
of
opening
grace
the
to walk
door.
into things that
Yeah,
the average person couldn't do. And I totally surrender to God's will in
yeah,
that. So last thing to really share our activation moment of
yes,
the day.
yes, yes,
If you had one final word of wisdom for those who have now, whether they're a new startup as a digital entrepreneur or you just desire, like, I want to start something, I don't
yeah,
know what yet,
yeah.
but I just have this dream, this thing inside of me. I want to do more. What go getter advice would you leave with my activation nation?
Yeah, honestly, the advice is a little boring, which is you have to have a goal, okay? You have to have an action plan. I mean, that's, I know it sounds boring, but honestly, you'd be amazed at how many people don't have either, to
Mm,
where it's like, I want to do this one thing. And that's what my consultations are for. That's why then, so my coaching, essentially, my coaching is a 1 hour go getter consultation. And I really do ask some very, very hard questions, Melissa, which is, what is your personal brand? What is your personal mission? What do you want to do? And it's amazing to me how many people, like the first two questions, they're like, I don't know. And then I'm sitting here going, that's why we're not there. Like I mean,
ah,
what I'm saying? So it
mhm.
sounds very simple to say have a goal and have a plan. And some people may say, well, obviously, but it's actually not that obvious, is what I'm
It's
noticing.
not as obvious for most. If you're just making your way and getting by in life, or
Yeah,
if you've
that's right.
never just been taught, there's strategy to that.
Yes, 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 yes. No, you said it. And so, like today is a great example. He's like, I don't know why I'm not getting these jobs. And I'm like, well, there's a reason, and we're
Mhm.
going to figure that out. And I'm going to help you figure it out because what I'm noticing is a lot of my audience, like they will come to me and say that I've not been getting a job. And then the sort of natural thought is that I suck. That's sort of the natural thought is like,
Mhm.
I am there's something wrong with me,
Mhm.
and that's when I have to come in and say that there's nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with your skills, and
Mm.
that's a very, I always notice that's a very powerful moment because, they're going into a negative, spiral of self-hate and,
Mhm.
self-sabotage and all of it. I mean, I can map out
Yeah.
exactly what
There's
happens.
nothing wrong with you. We just
There's
have
nothing wrong
to
with you.
adjust your skills. You just have to tweak
Exactly.
it a little bit.
You have to tweak your skills, or your
Yeah.
resume or your this. And I think like I'm all about like productive conversations, which is why like if you follow me, you notice that I complain very less. I don't self-sabotage. I don't like go online and say I hate myself, everything sucks. Like that's not
Right.
really my model
That's
because
not the purpose for the space. Yeah.
it's not really productive. You know what I mean? Because if I feel like I suck, I would much rather work on my skills, and
Mm.
that's kind of what I instructed him to do today. And I'm confident that he's going to get a job. I really am. I really am because
Awesome.
once you align your, purpose. So I think really it's literally it's have a goal, have an action plan, and then, are you working on that action plan?
Work the
I think
plan.
that question is very simple. Are you doing it or are you not doing it? And if you are doing it, then you're going to see some results, you know, or perhaps you're doing it, but I think the other complaint I hear all the time is like the results are really slow, right? And to that I say they're really slow because you don't really like what you're doing, you know, because if you love what you're doing and you're
Yeah.
a fan of it, you know, I want to do this every day. I want to post, I want to share, I want to build a platform. I don't see results every day, Melissa. I mean, do you see
That thing,
results
yeah.
every day?
No,
You
well, when you said that, the immediate thing that came to my mind when people say the results are slow, that means that they're tricked by the rest of the world and thinking everyone else gets quick results. That's not
right.
true. When they
True.
see us on stages, they don't realize that one micro moment, like I talk about micro and macro moments, that
Yes.
micro moment of
Yes.
5 minutes on camera or 20 minutes in a keynote or whatever the case really took the last decade of my
20 years.
life to prepare me
20
for
years.
that moment. So when you talk about it, didn't seem that way to us because we were constantly working on our craft and ourselves along the journey. So
Right.
there were small celebratory moments that led up to the big moment. They're just looking for a big moment right now because social media and the world makes it look like that's what it's going to be. And it's not so. And that's one
Totally.
of the purposes of this platform of activation
Mhm.
is that it takes daily activation to get to the big moment of your life. There's an
Totally.
activated lifestyle, whether it's a go-getter lifestyle.
Yeah.
And so it's
Yeah.
so important that we continue to peel back to pull back the veil a little bit.
Mhm.
And that's why I love doing like reels or stories behind the scenes where people see, okay, they see us at the whiteboard crafting the
Yeah.
message. They see us writing the speech. They see us building the company, or
I
hey,
love
this is behind the scenes what the studio
I
really
love
looks like when I'm trying to go. Like they don't. We have to be responsible stewards of the story.
that. Yes, yes, I love that. I love that. And also, I think also calibrated expectations, Melissa, because some
Mm,
people like their results. I'm like, you know, this is not like possible in 2 days. So I don't understand like what you are trying to like measure against because this is not a good goal. And you won't believe how many conversations I have with my audience, Melissa, literally saying, quote unquote, that is not a good goal because either you're trying to like have a goal that everybody else has, which you know even you don't know why you have that,
right.
or
Or
it's
maybe
it's
somebody made that up for you and it just stuck with you forever, right?
right, like it's not your own doing, or my favorite, the goal is too big. Okay, the goal is too big for tomorrow, and
Yeah.
I'm
Do you
telling you,
find, let me ask you
yeah,
something about that. Do you find that when you say that to people, they feel it's harsh? Like people come as a coach, we coach
yes,
them. If your coach doesn't piss you off just a little bit, they may not be
I
coaching you
know,
right because they're
yes,
telling you the truth and they
yes, I
hold up a mirror
agree.
and you're like, you're really paying them to tell you the stuff that you
You don't want to
don't
hear.
tell yourself and no one's
Yes,
holding you accountable for.
yes,
Correction does not feel good, but it's for your good.
correct. You're
So I may
amazing.
have to tell you and course correct and tell you some hard truths so that you deal with it. Obviously, you're not winning because you haven't dealt with that stuff. So let's deal with the junk and the like. No, it's not a reasonable expectation, which is why I know you said it sounds simple, but people miss the simple steps of
Yes,
if you haven't
yes.
written the go like you want monumental
Mhm.
results, but you haven't
Yeah,
taken one step in that
yeah,
direction.
correct.
If the goal today was okay, you know what, and not it doesn't need to be 10. You might want to do I do my top three. If I
Mhm.
do those three, one of them is make my bed. I think I heard Tiffany Haddish say this one time.
Same.
I heard Tiffany Haddish say this one day and I cracked up laughing. And I said,
She's
I'm with Tiffany
amazing.
on it. If I can make up my bed
Yeah,
and I know, hey, that's the one thing that God granted me the sound mind and ability to do, then everything else is easy. One, I was able to
exactly.
get out of it, and two, I was able to make it. Okay, the rest is a piece of cake. Like, do something
Exactly.
simple. That's a
Yes,
reasonable expectation for me to get up and do that. One of them
yes.
is self care. Like, I love facials.
I know.
I
They're
will stand
beautiful.
in the mirror for 30 minutes and do the best
Yes,
facial in the world to feel like I'm
yes,
putting on my best, whatever. If that's
yes.
gonna give me the confidence, why? Because now I'm in the right space to go do the hard stuff. If you can't
Correct.
master doing the easy stuff, you surely can't cut through and get to the
Totally.
hard stuff.
Totally. No, I love that. I love that. The bed thing has been a game changer for me,
Man, I
Melissa.
cracked up when Tiffany Haddish said
Yes.
that.
No, she's right. Well, and I would even add to Melissa in this quarantine and pandemic sort of time. make the bed, take a shower. I'm talking,
In this situation, yes.
yeah, brushing your teeth,
Get
you know,
dressed.
mouthwash. Dress. Like, let's like do that. Literally like that routine,
That's
morning
that's hard work
routine.
for some people right now. That's hard work for
That
some
is hard
people.
work for me right now. I mean, let's be honest. Yeah, no, it's.
Oh
I'm telling
man.
you, I don't think I've ever struggled this much to like get up,
I
and just
agree.
like
And see,
be.
but that was so honest. You know what,
Yeah.
sis? I applaud you for saying that because it was hard for me today too. But I said, I'm talking to Shinjini and I'm going to get up and I'm going to do my best.
You're
And I'm going to.
amazing.
So I
I
thank
I've
you
been so
so
excited
much.
to talk to you too. But honestly, and especially for people like you and me who are sort of working from home, and probably will be for a long time anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I don't know if you know this, but there are like big companies, Melissa, big companies, like tech companies whose CEOs are literally writing them like, "Hey, I don't think I'm going to go back to the office like ever."
Mm-hmm.
So this is
Uh,
this yeah, this is not just like you and me and
yes.
solopreneurs. This is like actual like corporations,
You
where these
know, there's a
CEOs are like,
projection.
yeah,
I've been reading about this, that the
yeah.
projection of a mass corporate exodus. That's a whole nother episode. I have to have you back. I would love
We
to.
will, we will, we will. But the point being, we have to learn how to be go-getters at home and like get up and dress up and brush, like, because I think we're going to be doing this for a long time. That's what I'm trying to say.
I
Because there's
agree.
so many like tech company CEOs and all that, like I follow, and I'm like such a fan of that. Literally, they're publishing like LinkedIn posts and stuff, going like, "Hey, probably not going to be back in the office for a while," and or even when we are normal, like he or she's not going to go into the office that much. And so
Yeah.
I'm sitting here going, "Oh my God, like I really think that I will be working from home for a long time." Even when I am in LA, and because I want to move and I'm in LA, but I don't think I'm going to get an office, Melissa. I'm not going to pay WeWork or co-working space. Why?
Not at
Why just
all.
get
I
a
canceled it.
room? Yeah, room in because that stuff is expensive. It adds up of like $300 a month, $400 a month, co-working space, whatever, whatever. So if I can save that, I probably just be doing this for a very long time at home. And then once you have like employees and whatever, you have an office. But Melissa, let's be honest, I don't think I'm going to go into the office every day. So, I mean, I don't think I can even expect my team in the future to go into the
Yeah.
office every day because they're not, they're probably going to come in for meetings, and I'll come in for meetings, but I'm not going to be there every day. And so the idea then becomes that you have to be extraordinarily self-disciplined. And that's what I'm like
Mm.
learning the hard way. But you know what? And I think this is where like my audience, they like come to me like crying. They're like, "Oh my gosh, I am struggling to be a go-getter, and I'm like struggling to whatever brush and do this." And I told them, I said, "Look, there are days when I haven't made the bed at 5 p.m. But instead of me like crying, I'm just like, you know what? Just get it done.
Give
Just get
yourself
it
some grace.
just get it done before midnight. And I do.
Mhm.
And then I'm like, okay, cool. Like there's very little blaming in my life,
Right.
because I feel like I'm just like going through so much and I'm trying to balance so much because it's not just like my media company. Now we have enterprise content clients, and now I have like my media
Nice.
platform, which is like its own job managing so many people online. And then, my book sales and this and that. So like there are some days when I'm like, you know what? I didn't do it. It's fine.
And that's okay.
Whatever. And that's okay. And so I think that also is like the beauty of being a go-getter, because like you believe in yourself so much that like I know that I will do it. And if that's tomorrow, that's tomorrow. Like with my clothes, they sit out for like 2 weeks sometimes after they exit the dryer. But I'm like, you know what? They're gonna get folded one day. And that's that.
I'm the queen of wearing down the pile of clothes.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
wear them
So
down. Yeah.
yeah, so I think it's just about, um, being patient even with yourself and not getting so like angry and mad
Yeah.
that you didn't do it. Because I think that self-blame can get really bad.
Ooh, that's sabotaging. This was good. Guys, make sure you follow Shinjini Das, speaker Shinjini.
Yes.
You are in for a treat if you join her Go Getter tribe. How can they connect with you? How can my Activation Nation
Yeah.
audience connect and be a go getter?
Yes, totally. So follow me at Speaker Shinjini. It's the easiest way. You see my handle down below across all social media platforms. It's the same handle. Please connect with me on some platforms. You can just search my name, Shinjini Das. Please follow me, connect with me. Honestly, at this point, Melissa, I want your audience to get to know me. I want them to get to know my message. I want them to interact with my content. And if you are sort of really excited about, being a go-getter and sort of architecting your own personal transformation from a dreamer to a go-getter, I think my memoir, again at 26, is an awesome purchase. Unapologetically Shinjini. You see the website there. It's $26, memoir at 26. And then also this year, Melissa, I'm very excited to share that my media company is gifting one copy per copy sold to an underprivileged go-getter, because
Oh,
I
wow.
believe that everyone deserves positive inspiration, which actually is a very revolutionary thought. And I clearly did not mean for it to be that revolutionary, but it clearly is a revolutionary thought, because my audience in Kenya, in Uganda, in India, in Malaysia, I mean, they're poor. There's no
Mm-hmm.
other way for me to say that. They're poor, they're struggling, their family does not support them, does not support their goals. A lot of the girls are in terrible situations. And,
Yeah.
reading this, like, honestly, is probably the most positive thing in their life for a while. and
Mm.
and so my point is, like, I had to really come to terms with that their life matters, and
Mm-hmm.
even though the world says that it doesn't, it does, and they
Yeah.
deserve to be inspired. And so, like, I didn't mean for it to become like a social crusade, but like it's actually kind of become a social crusade, because all of them want to read my story. They feel very inspired by me because they're black and they're brown and they want to come to America. And I'm
Mm.
sort of the immigrant, success story. And they can't afford my book, and so that's why I'm doing this thing of like,
What a
if you buy,
blessing.
yeah, if you buy a copy, I will gift one to an underprivileged go-getter. And the result has just been unbelievable, because, and that's what I'm trying to say, is like, you're poor today, but this doesn't have to be your future, and
That's good.
yeah, it's just really, it's oddly emotional for me, because I came into it being like, everyone's a go-getter, but like, I'm like looking at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this could be the reason that they keep going. And that's sort of a really powerful
Mm.
thing.
Well, thank you so much for your give back to go getters all over the world. Guys,
Thank
make
you.
sure you check out her book, Unapologetically Shinjini. Show her some love. Make sure you follow. Check out my show notes because you don't want to miss all of the quotables and activation moments I got from a special guest, Shinjini Das, today. Make sure you go to her website, unapologeticallyshinjini.com, to learn
Yes.
more about how to join her global community of go getters. Make sure you
Yes.
hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications because I'm coming to you with our new series of Becoming. You don't want to miss our featured guests every week, 7 p.m. Eastern, live on 4 p.m. Pacific on YouTube and Facebook Live. And if you're catching a replay, that's okay. Want to show you some love too. Follow us on all podcast platforms where you catch your Audible content. Guys, show some love to my guest today, Shinjini Das. Thank you so much for all of the love you've shown the Activation Hour today. I will see
Thank
you
you.
guys on the next episode. Stay activated. Bye,
Thank you so much.
guys.
Thank you.
If you love this episode, please make sure to subscribe, turn on your notifications, and share with a friend. Also, if you really want to get behind the scenes, go now to our YouTube channel at The Activation Hour. The link is found in the show notes for you to actually see my guest live and in person, and to even catch more details of our conversation behind the scenes. Stay connected and join us next time for The Activation Hour, Purpose at Work and in the World.